Dr. Jaishankar, in the past few years, has been the Khalistani separatism and terrorism that has emanated probably from Canada, but also to an extent from UK, from US, and from Australia. You've been dealing with that, but in particular, post the G20, the India-Canada ties have suffered. Perhaps there is some backroom dialogue that is underway. We had stopped visas. Well, I see that smile there. I don't know how much you can say, but people want to know, and perhaps in the audience as well, there are quite a few who have suffered because they are not getting visas on time, and there are delays that are happening on the Canadian side. But when will this provocation really end, particularly from Canada? And do you think there is growing understanding, at least from the Canadian politicians, or is this just political compulsion for them to just let this Khalistani separatism be, because it is becoming snakes in their backyard movement, just like Pakistan for Canada?
Well, look, first of all, let me say this regarding visas, okay? We had to suspend the issue of visas in Canada because our diplomats were not safe going to work. Our diplomats were repeatedly threatened. They were intimidated in many ways, and we got very little comfort from the Canadian system at that time. It has improved since then. So we reached a stage where, as a minister, I could not risk, exposing my diplomats to the kind of violence which was very clearly prevalent in Canada at that time. So but that part of it has been rectified. So today, our visa operations are pretty much normal. Now, regarding the space which has been given to Khalistanis, to extremists of various kinds. Look, they keep telling us, we are a democracy, there's freedom of speech, and therefore people, say these things. Now, freedom of speech cannot extend to intimidating diplomats who are doing their duty, throwing smoke bombs into embassies and consulates, actually advocating violence and separatism against a friendly state. To me, this is not freedom of speech, this is misuse of freedom of speech. Now, we've had this to different degrees in different countries. In the UK, we saw actually our High Commission being, attacked by mobs, and honestly, we didn't get the kind of protection which we expected to get. And to a point of someone actually physically climbing into our High Commission and bringing down the Indian flag. Now, I asked my colleagues, let's put ourselves in each other's shoes. How would you react if a mob came and did something to one of your diplomatic premises somewhere in the world? You wouldn't say, oh, there's freedom of speech and freedom of assembly and freedom of expression. You'd be jumping up and down. So the whole point, now again, things have improved in UK. So the point is, we find today that in many countries, we've had a much firmer response in Australia and in the US. Okay. We had an arson attack in US, but that is under investigation. And we expect that the US, if a receiving state does not investigate and take action against someone who attacks an embassy or a consulate, there is a message in it. Now, I don't think it's good for any of these countries to send that kind of message for their own reputation. So we expect the culprits in the attack in our consulate in San Francisco to be brought to book. We expect action against people who stormed into a High Commission in London. We expect people who threaten our diplomats, who put up posters. They put up posters of our diplomats with urging people to be violent against them. Now, just imagine if roles were reversed.